tell up the sweet story, and we've heard the joyful sound, Jesus saves. Share your faith. I've not, when I was an active officer, I didn't have much to do with non-army bands. Just didn't have the time. I didn't go to band contests. Not that I didn't want to, but I was probably up country or overseas or something, so I never got there. And I had a telephone call from an Australian gentleman who came on the phone and asked me if I'd write a march for his band. Now, I'd just written a march for an Australian band, and I thought, I can't do another one. And I was trying to find a way to say no kindly without, so I'm not the kind of person that likes to say no. And I was sitting away around. I said, what sort of a band is it? I said, oh, it's a good band. So I thought, well, he might think it is, perhaps it isn't. So I said, is it the kind of band you have to cue in the second baritone for? No, he said, no, the second baritones are all right. So I said, well, let me have your name and ring me back tomorrow and I'll let you know. And he said, my name is David King, and the band I'm asking to write for is a band called the Yorkshire Building Society. Now, I didn't know this band. The bandmaster, the local corps, was around to sing that evening. I said, I had a call from a guy called David King, and he conducts the Yorkshire Building Society band. Is it any good? He said they won the contest last year. And there's me asking, do I have to cue baritone parts? So I wrote him a march called YBS, which they wanted a signature tune, where they start their programmes and finish with, or whichever it is. And they wanted some Yorkshire tunes in. Now, if you don't know England, Yorkshire is a part of England in the north, where a great banding country in the north of England. There's a brass band in every village. And he wanted a couple of Yorkshire tunes. Now, the only Yorkshire tunes I knew were, you may know it, this one. Anyone heard that before? Actually, the tune was in the old tune book. It was called Cranbrook in there. But that's it. On Ilkley Wall Bar Tap, that's called. Don't ask what it means, but that's what it's called. And the other one, I couldn't think of another one. My wife suggested the tune, the Grand Old Duke of York. You know that one? Oh, the Grand Old Duke of York, he had 10,000 men. He marched them up to the top of the hill and he marched them down again. Which I thought was a great tune. And anyway, that was it. So that was 2 Yorkshire tunes. So this is how it goes for the YBS. Here's the grand old keyboard. Okay, well that's my only excursion in the outside band world.
When did you write that?
8 years, 10 years. What, the date? Yeah, the date. What book? Oh, is it? Oh, this one? It's about
Okay,
it's since I retired, anyway. Where? Oh, yeah, so it is. Look at that. Oh, that's going to take one apart fine.
Sorry.
Why yes?
It's alphabetically.
Yeah,
Remember?
yeah, it's not in here though.
Would you like to help?
Is it?
No,
Is it under Y?
Eh?
Is it under Y?
Yorkshire Builders, it's not in here. Under Y, no, it isn't. It's missing out of this book.
Oh, darling Norman, let me take
No, I'm sorry, it is. You can't say it isn't. Look, work, zerk. Work and zerk. Band music. Oh, that's puppets, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, no. Not to worry about it.
Sorry about that. Cause problems.
It's not one of the
This is why
problems.
Sonny needs a wife.
Yeah. We have in London, I was responsible for the yearly Royal Albert Hall concert, which was either to do with the bandmasters or the Songsters Council's weekend. That's the big weekend that we take the Royal Albert Hall and put a performance on. I wanted a cornet player we hadn't used before. His name was Richard Martin. He was in the Enfield band. I don't think he's a Salvationist now, I'm sorry to say. I don't think he is. But anyway, a very good player. I've heard him when he came to School of Music. He came to Cobham Hall. And so I invited him to do a cornet solo for the event. So he asked me if I'd write one for him. And so I wrote a solo called Song of Exaltation. Now, while I was going to do it, I got Richard to come round to my house and to play the bits that he could do, well. The trouble was he could do everything well, and I was trying to find some bits that would sort of stretch him, but whatever I suggested he did, it was a lot, he could just do them. And towards the end, there's a very awkward scale comes in. It's a whole flattened all the way down. It's very fast. And I thought, it could be tricky, but when he played it in my house, it just went straight down like it was playing Blah Blah Black Sheep. I was a little bit disappointed, but there it is. So this is called Song of Exaltation. It's based on a very, very old song called I Hate the Devil and the Devil Hates Me. I can't tell what the rest of the words are, but that's how it begins. It was in the very first musical Salvationist published by the Salvation Army. And I found this very old tune and thought, I'd make a cornet solo. So here it is. No, that's not the one. No, I hate the devil and the devil hates me. That's another hate song. That's the next one. Okay, so here's. So what do? You think, well, it's the Royal Albert Hall. It's a big place. It's got a got to have a big sound to it or something, or it's got to be all those things that you want it to be. I can't explain what, you can ask me questions just now. Anyway, here's the way it goes. Song of Exaltation. That goes on like that for a bit, then the central section comes in on the tune, My Jesus, I Love Thee, I Know Thou Art Mine, that tune. Then another little tune comes in, I can't remember what it is. And then we go back to that theme again, but then that becomes developed much more than it is in the first wave. Another Royal Albert Hall event, this was when we had 3 staff bands. I was asked to do 2 numbers for that one. This one was a piece called The King's Trumpeters. And I think it's just cornets. Yes, it is. It's a cornet ensemble number with the band. And the 3 staff bands, it was, I think it was New York, yeah, ISB, and Melbourne staff band, those 3. And the soloists of each band stood up and played this. So, King's Trumpeters. I can't think what tune is it's on, but you'll soon discover. And it is a sort of showy piece for cornets. Not too long, and it's a sort of piece you can put in to sort of brighten up a dark corner in the programme. let's think of a song. One of my great privileges in life was to meet a lady called Catherine Baird. Catherine Baird was a colonel in the Salvation Army, born in Australia, probably one of the best poets we ever had, way all of her own, a quiet little lady but a very strong personality. The kind of lady, I asked her to come and speak to the bandmasters that we had in conference, some record. Oh, she said I couldn't do that. I said, yeah, I'm sure you could. Oh no, I said I couldn't do that. She said, I will come and answer a few questions. I thought that was good enough, so she came and answered questions. She said about 10 minutes. Okay. An hour and a half later, we were still going. She was absolutely magnificent, this lady. How I first came to meet her was that she was asked if she would write the dedication song for the cadets at the training college. And she said she would if I wrote the music, which was very flattering to me, I must admit, in those days, long time ago it is now. And so I wrote the music, and I went to her house to see her. And she lived in a little flat, a little upstairs room in a rough part of the south of London. And it was a dirty street. There was muck around, and I walked down this street. I think, fancy this lady living in a place like this. And when I got up into her house, the first thing she said to me, "Did you see the lovely trees in the road?" And there was me. All I saw was the dirt and muck. But she said, "Did you see those beautiful trees?" It really took me back. I went in and played the tune over to her. She said, "Oh, that's fine." You know, we got talking, and a friendship started from there. We wrote a number of songs together after that, but this was the first one, and it was a dedication song called "My Solemn Vow," which we'll just play you one verse of it. And you've got to remember, this is written for the cadets to sing at the Royal Albert Hall at their commissioning. I think there was brass parts to it, and I just can't remember now. But anyway, this was the song. The lovely words she wrote to this, they're superb. And anyway, here's the song that we did together called "My Solemn Vow." But that was the beginning of a long friendship between this great lady and myself. And there is a book recently been published called Flame of Truth, I think it is, and it's her life story. Pen of Flame. And in it, she the questions that I asked, or the bandmasters do, are all in there because one of the delegates had enough sense to, in shorthand, to write down all that was said, and most of the talking that we had together comes out of there. Before we go any further, anyone got any questions? No? Right. Another request, and for the same event that we had with the 3 staff bands at Royal Albert Hall, was for Derek Kane. He was to play, they wanted a new euphonium solo for him, and I was asked if I would do one, which I duly did, on the tune, There Is a Better World They Say. It's a great old tune, it's in the tune book, and the words are in the songbook, and it became it's a good tune because it's got development within itself. That's such a useful development. Some tunes just go straight through, there's no development in the middle. Nothing wrong with that, but this one does. And it's a tune that really did gave all sorts of ideas that were contained in the tune itself. All the intros and that came out of this one tune. The central section is something different. I'm trying to remember what it is, but I can't. Anyway, what is it? Anyone ever played Better World?
Oh, time ago. It's
In the middle. Oh, I know. There's a mention Up in Glory. Now I put that in because many years before, at a previous Congress, when they had a staff band festival, the German staff band were there, and they actually sang that song, There's a Crown Laid Up in Glory. That became the central tune in the piece. So here's Derek playing it on a record that he made of all euphonium solos. It's called Lyric Variations. It's a good record, and this is one of the pieces that appears on it, called Better World. Because the song says about harps of gold and mansion fair, all those kind of things that we associate with the idea of heaven, which come in there. No questions? Yeah.
We've heard, a whole bunch of your wonderful works. I was just curious how you go about starting one of those things. You yourself, we've kind of heard how some of the other composers here, like how some of them, take a long time, some of them kind of whiz through it quickly. And how do you start your works or go about your work?
Well, some's quick and some isn't. The better ones are quick. The other ones, the not so good ones, take a long time. The main thing is getting a theme, a tune. Now that was an absolute gift, because I told you a moment ago, everything, the tune keeps developing, so that there's no problem to find interludes. Everything can come out of that tune without a great deal of struggle to do it. What you can't. I'm a great lover of the solos of Eric Lightsey, Tucker, and all those. But what they do is they play a tune, and then they play variations around the tune. You can actually hear the tune going while the tune's being. So you get a theme and variations on the tune. Now I felt that we couldn't do any more of those. I've done one myself, or two I think I've done, but I had to get away from with these. So these have a main theme, which is the tune Better World, but they're not variations on that tune. They are separate sort of entities on their own, like a style and then whatever it's going to be. But they're not. They don't try and they're not variations around the tune Better World. Once you've got the tune down, and this one in particular did begin to suggest other things as you go, and it was a fairly quick one to do. Having got the main tune done, and you've got to make that tune as interesting as you can. You know, try and put something into it, counterpoint here and there against what's happening to make it interesting. Then after you've done that, you come to a cadenza. I think there's a cadenza coming now. Cadenzas, they get increasingly difficult to write because they want them more difficult all the time. Players keep trying to make, a real big cadenza. I'll give you an example in a minute of another one. So you write the cadenza, which has to be, they're not just a mass of notes going anywhere. They've got to have a shape to them, and they've got to begin somewhere and resolve properly. You can't. It's not just a question of flashing around up and down and then playing the dominant chord of the next tune and away you go. That won't work. You can't do that. So cadenza, then the tune. There is a better world, they say. First of all, you present that in its entirety. Then you do not exactly variations on it, but something like it around it. And the keys keep suggesting themselves to you where they should be, and what should come out of it. You've got to have an exciting ending. Everyone likes a solo where if you just go down where they are, bomb, and sit down, nothing happens. They like a big high note at the end and everything going, drums, temps, everything going like that, and a high note, and people clapping to you at a great time. See, you've got to have a grandstand finish on these sort of solos, I think. Having said that, I'm just revising a quartet I did, which got a grandstand finish on, and which had it. Final bit of tune was "I'll Take You Home Again, Kathleen," but I've decided to revise that. Not that I'm not going to take her home again, but it's that it wants a quick ending on it. It doesn't want a big ending. It wants a bomb and finish like that. It doesn't want a. I've got a big extending ending, and have a big ending on the finish, temps and pyramids on it, all that stuff going, but it's not in keeping. That's got to come out. So, that's the way one bit, I'm not one of those people that can see the whole piece when I start. It grows on me, bit by bit, and one bit suggests the next. And I've done this bit down, tomorrow another bit will suggest itself, and it goes on like that. My friend Brindley Boom, when he writes anything, he has the whole thing in his mind before he starts, beginning to end everything. I couldn't do that. Well, it'd be too long. I wouldn't have a good enough memory to remember anyway, so I couldn't do that. Does that sort of answer your question? Yeah.
You seem to have, you're unique in that you spend as much time writing and training bands as you have seems to me that you have a very introspective way of writing choral music and a very bright, cheerful way of writing.
That's it, I mean, there are lots of, we've got to put them up, see if there's any bright ones on that ISS record. I'm equally at home writing vocal as I am for front band. I enjoy either.
Yeah.
And people say, did you enjoy doing the ISS as much as clean stuff band? No difference. I was equally at home with a choral group, which I love dearly, as I am with a band. So, sort of well pitched in there. I haven't written a lot of bright, although I think people know my band work more for the bright ones. There are some serious ones, but they don't seem to have taken off very much anywhere. Perhaps we'll play a bar or two one minute. But yeah, I suppose.
It just seems like your choral, maybe it's the stuff that I know. I've grown up, and fortunately in South Korea that can handle a lot of the choral music. So we did, and it seems like it's just a totally different mindset from the instrumental music. And it's interesting to see that you could. It's not a switch so much, but it just seems like you approach it totally different.
Yeah, I can't see that. I can't quite answer that one.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's my observation as well. Colonel, Martin's asking a question, I know it's difficult to answer in terms of breaking down to simplify and fundamentally theorize building blocks to create music. And I'm going to ask you actually, I think you have a level of creativity, particularly when it comes to mastering, I don't know, surpassed or even behind, but you certainly need high and fast, you know? But who has been, for you, this is not going to be too much in your format here, but who has been a major influencer of you in terms of writing and inspiration? Who do you look up to?
Well, as a kid, my idol was Eric Lightsey. I even bought a bow tie because he always wore a bow tie. Didn't make me write like Eric Lightsey, but there was something about his music that appealed to me very greatly. That's one thing. I was also born into a very musical core. Eric Ball was our bandmaster. Donald Osgood became the bandmaster. Phil Catlin came out of there. We had 2 or 3 poets. Ivy Morby was one. Wrote beautiful songs. 2 pipers, Stanley Piper and Cyril Piper. They were vocal people. Now, I grew up with all these people around me that were writing music, so I was right in it, like from far as I can remember back.
And most of it's surrounded by.
Yeah, that's right, they were. I don't quite know what the.
To make it tie to my thought, because you were surrounded by such different styles of composers and that you were with choral people and instrumental people, it might be why there is such a, in my opinion, such a drastic difference between, I mean, equally good, but just completely,
different.
It seems like a different language almost. I love it.
Yeah. Well, of course, when I had the ISS, when we started, we didn't have any music. There hadn't been an ISS, not for 50 years. So there was no music. I couldn't go in the cupboard and look something up. The only thing we had for our first rehearsal was a book of gems number 6, I think it was. That's all we had. We started seeing them through, and we sang them through, and I couldn't find it wrong with them. And I thought it must be time to finish. It was only 20 to 8. I thought, what am I going to do for the rest of the practice? So I had to start writing music for them that was on a bigger scale. Let's just do there's one on there called The Power and the Glory. See if you can find The Power and the Glory. I had to start writing, and I found great joy in doing it. The great thing, because you could write the thing in the daytime, take it down and sing it at night. And when you had singers like I had, who could sight read without any trouble, and no matter what you did, they just did it. They said to me, it's too hard, we can't sing it, but we will. They never argued, they always did it. If I said they could do it, they did it. And but that was a great experience for me. I was actually in Star Lake Music Camp as a guest when I had a call from General Arnold Brown when he wanted to see me immediately I got back to London. He wouldn't tell me what it was for, and I couldn't make out what he wanted to see me for. When I got back, he asked me if I would start Staff Songsters. I wasn't too sure really, but I said, yeah, if you want to. And then I say, we haven't got any music, so I had to get around and writing some. And ask other people to write for me. Eric gave me a few numbers, and various writers sent me stuff in. Ray Stedman very kindly did stuff for us, Leslie Condon. And but the bulk of it I had to do. And of course we were straight away in the limelight at the Royal Albert Hall with only a few weeks behind us. So you had to come up with something that we did. There's never been, and I'm sorry about this, never been any festival series for songsters. Because songsters is somehow have taken second place to bands. That's bad. It's not so in Britain as much as it would be perhaps here. But I never felt we ought to be second place, and I thought we ought to have a festival series. So I wrote a festival series. Just play a bit of it. This is a piece called The Power and the Glory. It's a 3-part suite. I think this is the one that starts off with a fugue on there's a Charles Wesley's words. It's original music, but it's based on some Charles Wesley. Anyway, you just listen to a few bars and you'll see what it's about. It's the 3 aspects of the life of Jesus. The first one was the entry into Jerusalem, when people were shouting hallelujah and putting palm branches down. Blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord. That's what that first fugue is all about. And the second movement is about the death of Jesus, and is a very solemn one. And then the last movement is about the resurrection, and that's written on whole tone scales. The whole piece is on whole tone scales. They're not too easy, but if you can get a good ear, if you've got people with good ear, they're not too hard to do. But it does give a certain something to the music which is necessary. Let's look at Westward Ho. I was asked to write a march. I've written hundreds of marches, I think. I was asked to write a march for a congress in the western division of Britain. So I did. And this has 2 or 3 Western English folk songs in. The first one is Tom Pierce, lend me your grey mare. You won't know that, but it's an English folk song. Tom Pierce, lend me your grey mare. All along round, along down, along me, I want for to go to Winnicombe Fair, with Brewer, Jen Stewart, and a Wilden Harry Hall, old Uncle Tom Copley and all, old Uncle Tom Copley and all. That's the tune, that's a West Country tune. And then there's another one comes in which is Dashing Away with a Smoothing Line. Dashing away with a smoothing line, dashing away with a smoothing line, dashing away with a smoothing line, she stole my heart away. That's another tune that comes in. Then you've got to convert it because it's an army one. So having had those worldly tunes in, then you bring in, oh yes, there's salvation for you. This is one I'm quite fond of. No, you shouldn't be fond of, but I'm of this one. It's called Westward Ho. Eh? I don't know what it is.
It's an iron.
Oh, is it? For iron? Yes. Okay. That isn't too hard to do if you get good tunes like that going. Of course, years ago you couldn't have done that. Uncle Tom Copley, certainly not. Now, of course, you just do it at best.
I was just going to ask you, in writing before the contest, you obviously found a couple of folk tunes that were resonant in that area, but that tune, Yes, There's Salvation for You, and did that have any application to that area?
No, that's a general army tune.
Please, someone say it, please.
Just to get saved, yeah, you can't go on doing that. It's not the right thing to do.
Can I ask you as well, just take 20 seconds. When you wrote all longhand, you use software, computer software?
Longhand,
All
yeah.
longhand.
I've got a Sibelius thing, but I really can't get on that. I'll have to write it out first anyway, so I'll get somebody else to put it on the computer, of course. There's a danger with writing with the computer. Don't let the computer tell you what to do. I've come across a few this week where people have shown me works that I can see the computer is rather taking them over, and it's feeling you've got to don't let it be your master. It's a servant, and I think you've got to be free of it. I would have to write it out first anyway. I couldn't mess about waiting to do it on the machine. I couldn't spend the time turning it on. Well, I couldn't be bothered with that. If I've got the tune coming, I've got to get on with it and fast at that. People say, what's the best piece you've ever written? I think the best vocal piece I ever wrote is a little piece called Reflections. It's very short, and it's three poems by my dear friend Catherine Baird that I wrote as a tribute to her when she died. I went to her funeral and sat at the back of the hall at Balham with very dirty street ladies whom she was their friend. And one of them said to me, "Did you know Kathy?" I said, "Yes." "Funny woman, wasn't she?" She said. I said, "Why do you say that?" "Well," she said, "you know, 2 or 3 times, once every other week at least, she'd knock on my door and say, 'Would you believe I've cooked too many cakes? Could you use a few?'" She must have known she said how many cakes she wanted. She'd got no idea that Catherine Baird thought she needed some cakes, and that was her excuse. But these dear ladies at the back, they thought she was an angel. They really did. Anyway, here's 3 little snippets. The first one is, this one was written in an evening, I think, a whole lot. It was, it just happens, and I've tried to write more on this one, but I can't. I thought I'd do some more of her poems in the same style, but no, they won't work anymore, so I'm done. That ain't going to go. But the first one is a little one called The Christ Child, little Christmas poem that she wrote. And the second one is, only the lowly and the wise see victory songs and infant cries. And then the last movement is called Home to Thee. She died in her flat on her own. She wasn't ill, she just died. And people didn't know for 2 or 3 days that she was found. And her prayer in this little song was, "Lord, on a quiet sea, let me sail home to Thee." Let's have that one, then we'll finish with something bright. Right, that's reflections. Any questions? No, okay. What age? Yeah, I really can't remember. Well, it's very young. I did a few. I did a few transcriptions of pieces that came out in Musical Salvations, and I sent them up. I had temerity to send one to Bramble Coles, who was the editor in chief, and he was a very kindly man. He wrote me and said, "Come and see me." So I went to see him, and he said, "If you want to be an art composer, you need to do original work, not just transcriptions." And suggested I wrote a march, which I did. March called "To Regent's Fair," only a lad then. And yeah, he published it and encouraged me to do, and I just went on from there. And yeah, he was a very, very lovely man, working many all, and very helpful. Super.
Are you still writing? Are you still writing?
Yeah, I'm still writing. I've been asked to do a new solo for David Dawes. I've made one or two attempts, but I haven't got the right thing yet. Some can't write these days, I hope. And then I've been asked to do one for Kevin Ashman, who's now the solo corner who I know well. I did a soprano solo for years ago that we've got a recording of. Yes.
When you're asked to write something, do you usually do any further correspondence with the person who's asked you? Would you do some work and show them, ask them for their input, and then complete it, or you just kind of they ask you and you give it and that's it?
I wouldn't ask them. If they ask me what you're going to do for them, you get all sorts of funny ideas.
Mm.
I got a request last week. This will make you laugh. A lady who was going to Argentina. She was leaving in 2 days. Could I write a march for her to take with her? And she got a suggested tune she wanted. One was in 9/8 time, and one was on something else. I just couldn't do it. It's just impossible. Just before we close, I was on tour with the Worthing Band. Worthing is a town on the south coast of England, and they were on tour in Sweden. And Worthing was a corps that in the early days of the army faced a lot of opposition. What was known as the skeleton army used to come, as they marched out their hall, they would come and bombard them with dirt and mud and fruit and so forth. And actually the officer of the corps was killed during the riots. Such was the intensity of the dislike of the Salvation Army in Worthing. And eventually, of course, by their perseverance, they went through, and there's been a thriving corps there ever since. That's right from the very beginnings of the army. Well, I was on tour with the Worthing Band in Sweden, and went to the billet at night after the concert, and the person I was billeting with said, there are a couple of English books in the bookshelf if you'd like to look at them while we're getting supper ready. And I picked out a book by William Booth. And I opened it, and the very first page was a picture, an artist's impression of the Worthing Band marching out from the Worthing Citadel and being attacked by the skeleton army. And there was 2 drummers, a flag, tambourines, a couple of banners and things, and these people marching out the road. I thought, what a strange thing. Here I am, all these miles away from home, and this suddenly appears to me like this picture of these people, their bravery. I went to bed, I hadn't got any manuscript here, but I drew a few lines and wrote a sketch anyway of the march that we're going to finish.